Welcome back everybody to Card Clankers. In today's video I'm going to go over the best leader pairings for mostly set 2 leaders. It'll be essentially an updated best leader pairings from the previous video that I did for set 1. Now that we've got set 2, we have like 72 more leader pairings, so I think we're up to like 144 different leader combinations. So trying to do top leader pairings and stuff like that is getting harder to do already just because of how many there is, and we'll just get further and further more complicated as we get more and more sets, because again that number increases by 72 each time, not including bases. So let's get started immediately. One of my first synergy leader pairings is Saxon with either Moff Tarkin or Hondo. Moff Tarkin, or well, let's start off with Gar. Gar says each friendly upgraded unit gets +1/+0, and he deploys on 6, and he has a 4/7 that says each friendly upgraded unit gets +1/+0 and gains when defeated. You may return an upgrade that was attached to this unit to its owner's hand. So outside of that extra additional ability, it's more of the static front side that it synergizes well with what is going on in terms of the synergy here, because both Hondo and Moff Tarkin can give out experience tokens. Granted, both a little bit more limited than what you would probably like. Hondo, it's when something gets smuggled in, he triggers, and then Moff Tarkin can only buff up Imperials. I mean, we have a decent amount of Imperials, so that shouldn't be a problem. Again, it will be probably once the deck minimum increases to 80, because then it's lowering the chances that you're going to see Imperials. So in future sets, this pairing is going to be a little bit harder to do, but that synergy right there just makes a whole lot of sense. Next up for me, Kiara. She pairs off really well with Grand Inquisitor and Director Krennic. We know what that combo together did for set 1 Twin Suns, with the whole play something with grit, damage it with GI, ready it, and now it gets the +1 buff from that, from Krennic's static ability, similar to Saxon, except his is when a friendly unit is damaged, it gets a +1/+0. So Kiara will, you can go into double blue, you can get the double blue cards for cheaper, you can benefit off of those. And it's a different twist on it, because at least then you'll give it a shield, so not only do you buff them, they will be slightly protected, and we'll still get the +1 benefit from Krennic. And then of course, her deployed side gets to heal all the damages, ping all the, deal half the damage to everybody. So that's always pretty risky, but it's kind of nice if all your stuff is shielded. So like the synergy makes sense, and of course with Grand Inquisitor, you can sit there and ping, ready them, swing with them, and if they've got room for more HP, for more damage, you could ping them again and give them a shield token to give them protection, so that way they're not instantly defeated. So, you take that risk. I think there's a way to do it, and I think it will synergize pretty well. Next up, for Rey. For Finn, I have realistically nobody besides Rey, so we're just going to skip into Rey. For me, Rey's best leader combinations is Finn, because of you can give an experience token and then sack the experience token to give it a shield token. But I feel like that's also kind of lame, because then you just got Luke Skywalker that can just give the shield token to a heroism card. And can skip all that, and you can just run Rey with Luke, which is what I have as a good pairing too. And then of course the big one being Cassian as the best fit, because you can play all these 2-powered creatures, buff them up to 3, and get that 3 damage in to get Cassian to be able to draw a card. Hondo, his only best pairing was Saxon for me. So we're going to skip over to Jabba the Hutt. Jabba has so many different leader pairings. There's like this pentagon of leaders that will do really, really well in terms of pairings, and that's Jabba the Hutt, Bossk, Cad Bane, Iden Versio, and the villainy Boba Fett. Those 5 leaders, you can kind of mix and match them however way that you want. All 5 of them will just be very good. You can stick with the Boba and the Iden, or you can go with Bosk and Boba for like this bounty hunter deck and stuff like that. Same thing with Jabba and Boba, and then Iden too just benefits off of units getting defeated and the healing. I mean, we all know what Iden does. So next up for Moff Gideon, I think he synergizes pretty well with, surprisingly, IG-88. Both of these leaders want you to attack your opponent's leaders and get like buffs. IG, if you attack somebody and they've got well, actually no, IG does the whole defending player thing, but you know, it's pretty close. IG, you can attack with things if you've got more units, you get a buff. If the units are cheap, 3 cost or less, Moff Gideon can buff them up to give a +1 attack if you're attacking a unit. So I do think that this synergizes pretty well, especially since he gives overwhelm on his deployed side. So I do think that there is some synergy there that, you know, you can kind of go as a bit of an aggro deck, pop out a bunch of units, cheap units, buff them up, get, you know, bigger attacks in. So I think those two synergize pretty well. For Heroism Boba Fett, I've got multiple pairings for him with Cassian Andor, Chewbacca, and Fennec. Cassian's pretty obvious. The draw power, Boba Fett can buff if you play keyword cards, which there are enough for a Twin Suns deck, especially for Heroism. So I don't think you're going to have any issues getting the Cassian draw every turn. Plus Cassian also has a keyword on him, so if he's deployed and the Boba Fett's deployed, Cassian's going to get the +1 buff because he has Sabbath's Blood. Chewbacca and Fennec, they give a keyword on play, so it will still trigger the Boba effect. So they will still get the +1, so you can play out a Sentinel, it'll get that extra buff, dissuade people from wanting to attack. Fennec, you can ambush in something that might just be a power short. You will trigger the Boba, and you can sit there and give it the +1 to be able to get that last damage that you might have been short of. So those synergize pretty well. Kylo and Dr. Aphra is the only real pairing that I can see synergizing. I mean, Kylo's kind of aggro, but as I've stated before in Twin Suns, aggro's kind of hard because the table's probably going, as a whole, 3 people against 1 is going to try and slow you down. So I think the best pairing in terms of synergy is Dr. Aphra, just because she's also going to mill from your deck. Kylo's going to discard. I think this pairing here has longer term potential with more reanimation, more ways to be able to get stuff back from the graveyard. I think these two will be very good in future sets. So right now they synergize because of the milling and whatnot. Bo-Katan makes sense to me with the Mandalorian because they're both Mandalorians. And you can also do like the upgrade theme with it. So you got Mandalorians, you got upgrades, your rest moding stuff, your pinging stuff. So that synergy right there is pretty good. Also for Bo, I've got Jyn Erso, because of the fact that if you attack with a unit, you give a -1 power to the defender unit. So, you know, you can sit there and control the board. You can attack with Mandalorians, ping it damage. Jin's gonna -1 its power. So, like, you can kind of get this board control synergy going between those two. And I've also got Bo with Sabine if you want to go with double red. That one's going to be probably pretty hard to do because then you're locking your Mandalorians into one color. Thankfully, red has, I think, the most Mandalorians. So I don't think you'll be too far off on that. But you could definitely do some stuff, I think, and we'll be able to do more things in future sets. I wouldn't be surprised if we get more Mandalorians in the next set if it deals with prequels, because the Mandalorians would probably see more tribes and more of the Mandalorian lore from the next set. The next one I got is young Han Solo, just like his set 1 counterpart, Han Solo, the older Han Solo. He could pretty much be paired with almost any heroism leader. There is like no real one that just sticks out, because all he's doing is letting you play things out a little bit sooner. And that's what the previous Han did. So you can kind of just get going faster with this leader. So you can have a game plan for the one leader, and then this Han's just going to help you get that plan off faster. And the next pairing that I'm really excited for as well, that I think will synergize pretty well, is the Mandalorian with Chirrut. Chirrut, as everybody knows, wants to do upgrades, upgrades, upgrades. The Mandalorian wants to do upgrades, upgrades, and upgrades. If the Mandalorian is deployed, every time you play an upgrade, there's no limit on it. You can just exhaust an enemy unit with 6 or less remaining HP, which is most unit cards in the game. So you can just sit there and keep getting upgrades. You know, you do have to play the actual physical upgrade card type. Tokens are not considered to be played, which I think, you know, kind of does suck, but it would probably be very powerful if it did. But still, you get Chirrut that's difficult to defeat. With the Mandalorian that wants to play upgrades, you're kind of getting this little love relationship here with the upgrade synergy, in my opinion. Another leader pairing that I think will be very good is also Cad Bane with Darth Vader. Just, again, for board control. You're pinging enemy units, and, you know, if you're playing mostly Underworld, most Underworld are villainy units, or there is a good amount in villainy, mostly in villainy, more than heroism. And so, you know, more than likely you're going to be able to trigger this Vader a lot, practically almost every single turn. And depending on what opponent you choose and where that opponent puts the damage from Cad Bane, you could then pay 1, tap the Vader, and deal potentially the last damage to the unit, or just further ping it down. So, you know, you're handing out 1 damages, Cad Bane does 2, and Vader, when deployed and on attack, does 2 damage to a unit. So, I mean, you could just go for this really villainy control style of deck. So that's pretty much it for these set 2 leader pairings, synergy decks, and best pairings for me. There are a couple others, like Sabine and Leia obviously is still a very strong contender, remaining from set 1. The older Han Solo, the cunning ones, still can go with any of these leaders as well and still do very well. He's just not a poor leader choice at all. Cassian's relatively the same way. Like, you can kind of pair him with anybody, fill the deck up with ways to either have 3 powered units, get 3 damage in. I mean, now you've got burn, like much more burn in the game now. So I think getting the 3 damage is not going to be difficult at all. So Cassian's going to be good all around. Some possible good decks that I have is the young Han with the older Han. I haven't quite figured out this build myself, but there's just no way I'm not going to play this deck. I mean, it's got my name written all over it. Everybody knows that I mostly played Cunning Han in Twin Suns during set 1, so obviously, you know, I've got to pair him with his younger version. I really loved the Solo movie, and I really liked the actor who played as young Han. I thought he did a fantastic job. So, like, this is a pet leader. Both of these are pet leaders of mine. So, like, obviously I got to run them together. But another sneaky good one that I think will also be possibly good that most people probably won't really run with is Jabba the Hutt with Thrawn. Just because you can play Jabba as a bit of a political, like, control deck as well. Like, okay, I'm going to put a bounty on this. You guys take care of this. This is the benefit that you will reap. You'll get, you know, the next unit that you play costs 1 less or 2 less. Like, you know, the same reasoning for all the other Jabba leader pairings. But with Thrawn, you have the ability to be able to rest mode things as well. and like really control the board state. Like, okay, I'm gonna rest mode this, I'm gonna put a bounty on this, and like you can really stall out the game. And now you've got so many cards now that will help you get to the later games. You know, you've got Snoke that's going to be -2 across, you know, non-leader units, enemy units. You've got Evacuate to bounce the entire board back to hand. You've got Super Laser Blast that's going to destroy everything. So, like, these two to me will create, like, the real ultimate, like, control style deck. Because, as I've stated before, dealing with bounties and you wanting to collect them is very risky and, you know, not probably the best game plan unless you can consistently be able to get those bounties. If not, you're better off using those to persuade people to go after their units and leave your stuff alone. So I think that that's pretty interesting. I mean, the two together only cost you 1 to sit there and do that, bounty and an exhaust. If Thrawn's out, it costs nothing. It's just an on-attack trigger. So you still get to use your resources to play, you know, other units. You start building your own board state, you know, while, you know, the other three are hopefully dealing with each other and not really paying so much attention to you as they want to benefit off of you putting bounties out and you tapping things down. And, you know, you're really going to stall the game out. So I think that's a sneaky good deck. And then, of course, I've got to talk about the absolute worst leader pairing in the game, clearly going to Hera with Hunter. The two worst leaders to be paired with in Twin Suns as of right now, because Hunter only, you know, has a handful of specters that she can run out of aspect, so she serves you nothing until she is deployed, and then on attack she can give an experience token to only another unique unit. So she can't put it on herself, and she can't put it on a non-unique unit. So that's pretty tough. And then Hunter's just the absolute worst now, because you don't have too many cards with the same unique name. You only have the Falcon and Chewbacca so far, if I remember correctly, at least in terms of Heroism, that are unique, that you can sit there and benefit off a Hunter. But that's a long shot for you to be able to have a Falcon in play and a Falcon in your resource. The Lando's Pride with the piece of junk and whatnot. So it's a long shot for sure. I think he will be better in due time. It'll just be a very long time, probably even years, when we get, you know, more of the same name unique cards out. And then of course the other thing that makes these two the worst leader pairing is that it's double green. So you're limiting the deck structure even more, and you're gonna have a tough go with it, and you're essentially banking on the cards within your 50 getting the job done, because Hunter and Hera, your game plan with this deck is to play them at the end. Deploy them when you know that you're in the final round, you're in the end game, and, you know, swing with Hera, give Hunter the experience to make him a 6/9, and swing in with him. I mean, that's 10 total damage between these two, so more than likely you're taking out somebody, or, you know, you're positioning yourself to win by having the most remaining life on base. So with that being said, that is my best leader pairings for set 2 leaders, and pretty much leaders in this set 2 format overall. So I hope you enjoyed. I thank y'all for listening and for watching. Bye-bye.